Good afternoon to everyone at today's public hearing of the Vetting Commission established under Law Number 65 on the external evaluation of judges and candidates for judges of the Supreme Court of Justice. I'm Scott Bales, the chair of the commission, and I declare this session open. The hearing is being conducted under the commission's rules of organization and functioning as part of the evaluation process. The subject of today's hearing is Ion Rusu, a candidate for the position of member of the Superior Council of Magistracy. The evaluation in relation to Mr. Rusu is carried out under Law Number 26 regarding certain measures for the selection of candidates to the function of member, to the position of member in the self-administrative body of judges and prosecutors. Mr. Rusu has been an attorney at law since 2012 and now is an attorney at the office Ion Rusu. Mr. Rusu, welcome. I'm joined by four other commission members. To my left is Vice Chair Andre Bevel. To my right is Commission Member Lillian Ansu. And further to my left are Commission Members Lavle Perling and Yuri Gatskin. The Commission is also assisted by members of its Secretariat. You may notice behind you, Mr. Rusu, some members of the public and the media. A photographer may be taking some pictures just briefly at the start of the hearing. Hearing is going to be conducted with interpretation between Romanian and English. To allow for accurate interpretation, I ask everyone to speak slowly and clearly. Only one person should speak at a time. The proceedings are being recorded. The recordings of the Commission's public hearings generally will be available online at the Commission's website, www.vettingmd.eu, within 3 days after the hearing. I will start by briefly reviewing the evaluation process for Mr. Rusu. The Commission initiated its evaluation on December 6, 2023 by notifying him by email and asking him to complete and return an ethics questionnaire and the financial declarations required by Law Number 26. Mr. Rusu returned the completed declarations and questionnaire on the 14th of December 2023. As part of evaluating a subject's ethical and financial integrity, the Commission also obtains information from many other sources, such as the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, other public institutions, financial institutions, and open sources. The Commission assesses the information that it obtains for its accuracy and reliability. On March 19, 2024, the Commission asked Mr. Rusu to provide additional information by March 26th to clarify certain matters. Mr. Rusu did not answer the first round of questions. On May 5th, 2024, the Commission sent a repeated request to Mr. Rusu, asking him to answer the first round of questions by May 7th. The Commission's request remained unanswered. On May 15th, 2024, the Commission asked Mr. Rusu to provide some additional information and data in 5 days. Mr. Rusu did not answer the second round of questions. On May 31st, 2024, the Commission notified Mr. Rusu that in its investigation, it had identified some areas of doubt about his compliance with the ethical and financial criteria. The Commission invited him to attend today's hearing. Mr. Rusu, is the information that you provided in the answers to your questionnaire and the declarations that you submitted on December 14th, 2023 still accurate as of today?
Yes, of course.
So, why did you not respond to the Commission's follow-up request for information?
First of all, I would like to say hello to everyone. Christ has risen. Dear Chairman, dear members of the Commission, audience, I tried to be very accurate in my answers from the declarations. Later on, well, being in front of you today, I have two types of feelings, feeling of gratitude for your efforts and the activities carried out by you for assessing my candidacy and feeling of humility because you are forced to make some financial aspects public, especially that based from the context of the questions and the doubts mentioned by the members of the Commission. I felt a bit humiliated because in the context of some questions there was a bit of irony. If this is logical. For us it's yes or not. I tried to offer exact information or accurate information. I had big difficulties in finding information in my memory in order to confirm my answers. And I would like to mention that the legal culture that we have in the Republic of Moldova, the rigid formalism for each document still has drawbacks. There are still difficulties. So it's not that I wanted to ignore the Commission, but I considered that the question or some of the questions had already been answered, despite the fact that in Annex number 11, in the request to be part of this selection, I signed and I offered my consent for processing personal data regarding myself in the context of the questions that were presented in round 1 and round 2. Some information that involved personal data of other persons was requested. So I could not take the luxury of violating Law 133, paragraph 4, regarding personal data for persons that had not given their consent for the disclosure, especially that there are persons that were referred to in the context of the questions and that I don't have contact with anymore. Well, I keep contracts for 3 years and then I don't keep them anymore. This is... And some doubts are not very credible and some are unjustified, because we should not apply double standards regarding candidates. And I mentioned that I borrowed 10,000 euros in 2 tranches. There were 2 amounts that were borrowed. And the Commission said that this is not credible, that there are no funds. I did not have the consent, but after...
Mr. Rusu, let me interrupt, because maybe you misunderstood my question. I'm not asking about whether you agree or disagree with what's in the notice of hearing. I was asking why you didn't respond at all to the 3 rounds of questions that you were sent prior to the notice of hearing. Do you understand my question?
I mentioned previously, moreover, in order to answer your question, I wanted to specify whether the notification from the 3rd of May 2024 is still in force. So I was sent by email a notification on the 3rd of May. And later, in order to answer the questions of the Commission, I wanted to clarify whether this notification is still in force. It was not annulled.
Mr. Rusu, I'm going to ask you again, because I feel like you're not understanding what I'm saying. I want to know why you didn't respond when the Commission sent you follow-up questions. You didn't tell the Commission that you thought the questions were ambiguous. You didn't tell the Commission that you thought certain information concerned personal information of other persons. You didn't respond at all. Now, have you reviewed the provisions of Law 26?
Da, eu le-am citit.
Yes, I have read them carefully, because before submitting the documentation, this was both in the Disciplinary Board and also in the Superior Council of Magistracy. I was told to submit the documents because besides the fact that I am an attorney, I founded a private law center and for the promotion of the reform of the judiciary. And I try to work with the relevant authorities that can contribute directly to the reform of the judiciary. I could not find fruitful collaboration, so I can present my attempts. And this was one of the incentives. Regarding my refusal to respond, I phoned the Secretariat and I said that in that moment I could not do this because some contacts are no longer valid. And there is information that I don't have access to. Regarding the conclusions of the Commission that the credits or the house or the price of the car are not real. I explained again in the declaration sent on the 14th of December. I explained everything related to the Lexus CSM 888. So I did not find it appropriate to repeat these answers, or did the Commission expect other answers from me?
We expected a response to our multiple inquiries. And I'll remind you, under the rules of the Commission, we will consider a subject's cooperation or lack of cooperation during the evaluation process in determining whether the subject has mitigated serious doubts about the subject's compliance with the ethical and financial integrity criteria. That's Rule 27, Paragraph 7. Now, you ask about this hearing. The topics we're going to discuss are those that were identified in the hearing notice that was sent to you. And we'll turn now to some specific questions. Those are going to be, in the first instance, led by Mr. Beevil.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rusu. Good afternoon. Refused to answer in written to the Commission. I would like to mention whether you are ready to offer answers today in the hearing. Verbally, yes, of course. Later, I received some confirmations, maybe, well, I'm not trying to convince the Commission, but I received this after I received on Monday the notification, because it was sent on the 31st. I received it on Monday and I confirmed on Monday. And today I received some confirmations regarding the person's availability to transfer something. Because these persons are good reputation, have a good reputation, have a special status, because I cannot go below my status and hide information. We can start, yes? Yes, of course. In the declaration for 5 years, you informed the Commission that during the assessment period, you borrowed a total amount of 10,000 euro in 5 installments from a person called Victor Strato. These loans were offered to you in 2010, 2013, 14, 19, and 2022. Could you tell us what is your relationship with this person? Mr. Deputy Chair, thank you for the question, because I wanted to mention this. The fact that the Commission in the doubts regarding this credit that you allegedly will say took place. We are like brothers. We spent our childhood together, we spent our holidays together, and in the limits of a moral obligation to support me, he helped me. And I would like to mention that two amounts from the ones mentioned were taken in full. The one in 2019, that was 3,000 euros, and I can justify this because in point B, you asked how was this money spent. So in 2019, as a confirmation, I edited a textbook for civil procedure, for consolidated legislation. We did not have the financial means. I can present all the receipts. We purchased material for the covers. Mr. Rusu, I will stop you to go back to the question. You have in front of you on the screen 5 loans. Let's start from the general to the specific. You declared them in the 5-year declaration as loans that you took from this person. The first question was clarified. You have a close relationship, like kinship. Did you receive all these loans? Yes, of course. Did you send them in cash or by bank transfer? Only 2 at the same time in cash, 2,000 and 3,000 euros in full. The others were sent in tranches. So I have indirect confirmation, not sure if they will be believed. So you received them in cash. Did you document them through a receipt or through a loan contract? So, you understand, we lived like brothers. There was no intention to have a receipt. Despite the fact that maybe I could have requested this receipt, he would not have accepted. Did you give back these loans? No. But actually, I actually even borrowed some more. Could you explain the source of the funds? How did Mr. Strato receive this money to loan it to you? Mr. Strato is a doctor and a university lecturer in the Republic of Moldova. Now he is living in Romania. He has 2 private dentistry clinics, and he has invention patents. And as a proof, I can show you something that he sent me today. This is a copy of his ID card, a copy from the registration document of the companies offering medical services. So these are 2 companies. Moreover, after filling in the declaration, well, I'll show you the reason. These are some transfers to the bank account of my son who is studying in Romania. As I was saying, these amounts were sent in tranches. Besides the one in 2019-2010, the others were in installments. So when we would leave to Romania, I needed to buy some books, so I have the proof that I bought those books. They costed 500 euros, 300 euros, so I can confirm this. This was not money that I borrowed to be used in other areas or to invest in businesses.
Nu știu dacă la moment sunt actuale. Eu
I'm not
astăzi
sure
îmi
if
permit,
this is
pot
still
spune.
relevant. I received this today and I can confirm them. Yes, you can present them to us.
Transmiteți, doamne.
Mr. Russo, of the different amounts that you state you have been loaned by Mr. Stratu, have you repaid any of those amounts?
Din suma împrumutată până la prezent,
From the
depășește
amount
10.000 de
that I borrowed up
Pentru
to
că
now, well,
anul
this
acesta
amount
am
exceeds
împrumutat
10,000
400 de
euro
Au
because
fost
this
transferați
year I
după ce am,
loaned 400
depus
euro.
declarație pe data de 18
This
decembrie,
was
a fost
transferred after the
transferat
submission of the
contul
declaration.
meu
This
care
was transferred to
face
the
parte de
account
Sibiu.
of my son who is studying in Sibiu. 800 RON was sent to that
Nu a
account.
fost rambursată
So
suma
I did not pay
integral.
back the
Deci,
amount.
Dumnealui nu mi-a cerut și nu
He
am
did not
autoscadenți care
request,
să
and I did not have a
verifice suma
deadline
respectivă.
for paying
la
back that sum.
Thank you.
Domnul Rusu, pentru
Mr.
claritate,
Russo, for clarity,
înțelegem corect că
do I understand correctly that starting 2010 until 2014, you borrowed from Mr. Victor approximately, well, more than 10,000 euro? Yes, now it's 10,500. And during this period, you did not pay back anything.
constituie un împrumut sau
Is
o
this
donare?
a loan or is this more like a
Eu
donation?
l-am împrumutat. Nu știu
Well,
care
I
să fie-
borrowed the
Eu mă
money.
strădui să
I'm not sure what the
dar cred că
situation
sunt
would be like. I'll try to pay it back, but
binecuvântez
probably
operațiunea asta.
at some point God will bless
Eu
this
n-am
operation
activat
also.
mai mult ca avocat.
But
Am
I did not
activat mai mult ca profesor.
work mostly as lawyer. I worked mostly as a teacher, and I tried to develop different projects. I founded the magazine for private law.
Curent.
So these were
Titlul de
the
confirmare pot să
activities.
prezint
As confirmation, I can
dovedele
give
care,
you
când mergeam la el în ospăție
the proof because when I
m-a
would
ajutat cu bani,
go
procuror, un
to
anumit
visit
produs.
him and he would help me buy some a batch of books, I had the invoices. I did not have a bookkeeping system, but these are fiscal invoices from Romania.
Adică la un
Am înțeles, domnul Sum.
I see, Mr. Russo. Let's move on to the next topic. This is related to your residence.
Puteți să ne comunicați unde locuiți?
Can you tell us where are you living now?
august 80.
Trușeni, 28th of August, 1918. 80.
Așa. În perioada 2008-2022,
Between
care este și perioada de
2008-2022,
evaluare.
which is the
Locuit
period for
pe această
assessment,
adresă?
have you lived there throughout this period? No, until 2013, on the 10th of June, I used to live in Bardar, Yeloveni district.
Care au fost temeiurile juridice?
What
pentru
was the
stabilirea
legal
reședinței
ground
pe adresa
for
respectivă?
setting the residence in that
S-a
address?
întors proprietarul din
When the owner,
deci anterior
well,
momentului
before
restabilirii reședinței la Tușeni,
having back the residence in Trușeni in
2013,
2013,
proprietarul este
because
Zaharia
the owner is Zaharia
Ana,
Ana,
a lăsat procură
she gave me a power of attorney with the right to sell that
în
house
scopul de a stinge creanțele
in order to pay for a debt
mama sa
that
față de
her mother had
entități de creditare și
two
pe
different
alte.
crediting institutions and individuals.
Suma inițială
At that moment, the initial amount for the house, I can show you the power of attorney. It's from 2013.
inițial
So initially,
Prețul care mi l-a
the price
stabilit pentru vânzare
set for the
era de
sale
30.000 de euro.
was 30,000 euro.
Au fost 5 persoane.
There were
Perioada
5 persons between
2013-2014.
2013-2014.
Eu am poze la casă.
And I
care
have
la
the
moment
photos of the house, and in that moment it was in a very bad state. And then nobody
confirm comisii
benefited from this. And I can confirm this to the
sunt expus.
commission because the house was in decay, it did not have any windows, it did not have any a door.
Eu pentru eventualitate reprezint
And I can present this to the commission so that you have a clear image
să beneficiez.
that nobody was actually interested.
Și încă poză.
And another photo.
După ce am plecat din
And
familie,
after
fiindcă au apărut
I
niște
left
dificultăți,
the family because
noi
I
nu
had
aveam
some
unde să
difficulties,
trăim.
I had nowhere to live.
Necesitate ca să
And I needed
îmi stabilesc cu traiul undeva,
to
dar aveam foarte mult.
have a home, but I had a lot of books. I could not move them. I have more than 3,500 books on private law.
Cerut consimțământul
And this is why I asked the consent of the owner to live there because the house was in decay. And she accepted. She was actually glad because I made some investments. I used to work for some construction companies that helped me in the initial period to settle in that house and to have my office there.
Deci pot să vă fotografiez la
So I
moment
can
cum
show you the photos from that. No. And all this based on power of attorney?
procurul a
No.
fost în 2013.
The power of attorney was in 2013.
Ulterior, doamna a venit
Later,
în 2000.
I think the lady came back in 2014.
Stați că
Let me check.
ochelare. Și
I'll
atunci
get my glasses.
am mers la
And then we went
secție, la oficiu registru public.
to the public registry.
13, da. Asta a fost în februarie.
Yes, this was
2014,
in
practic
February
câteva luni după ce m-am stabilit.
2014,
Au venit
a few months
inspecții
after
în
I settled in there. They came
mers
to
la
Moldova.
Secția pașapoarte.
And we went to the Department for Passports in Buyucani, and the residence visa was determined based on the request of the owner.
Nu puteam să mai includ cu viză
So
de reședință.
I could not have a residence visa in that house.
Ok. În
I see.
ați spus că ați făcut
You said
lucrări
that
de
you
remediere
had
pentru dumneavoastră.
renovation
Vă aduceți
works
aminte aproximativ, măcar estimativ, care a fost valoarea
that you
acestor
paid for.
lucrări?
Can you remember approximately the value of such works? No, I don't have an amount. I used to offer legal assistance services to this company, Del Mar Construction.
Cabinetul avocatului sau
This was from the attorney's office. Yes,
Toate cam contractele până în 2000.
yes. I think all the contracts until 20.
Dumnealor, în contul la unele servicii care
And for
fost
some
spontane și
services that
trebuiau
were
să
spontaneous,
merg la o perfectare de contract.
and when I
Ne-au
had
făcut,
to deliver some
Adică a fost
services,
un fel de barter.
so it was like a barter.
Dar era spontan. fiindcă
Not
atunci
really, it was
chiar nu eram-
spontaneous.
Înțeleg
Da,
că nu
da.
era un contract în care
I understand you did not have a
Avocatul,
contract
avocatul,
where
avocatul
it was
serviciu.
saying
Noi
that
aveam contract de asistență
attorney Ion Rusu.
respectivă.
Well, we had a contract for
Pot să
legal
prezint,
assistance
dacă
with that
comisia
company.
sau
I can
să
offer it
știe
if
perioada
the
de 3
commission
ani, 4 ani.
asks this.
Dar acelea au
This
fost
was for a
niște
period of 3-4
servicii
years,
spontane.
but
Persoanele
those
respective
were
din
spontaneous
Irlanda au venit,
services
ocazional
because
în Republica Moldova
the
și
persons
eu
from Ireland
nu
came
eram
occasionally
programat ca
to
să-
the Republic of
atunci am
Moldova.
făcut, un efort
And
de
then
câteva zile am făcut contractul
we
celălalt.
had an effort for a few days, so we had that investment contract for approximately 600,000,
Nu mi-au
and
contabilizat lucrările
it was like a gift. They did not invoice those works. Can you describe the works? Did they strengthen the walls, change the windows, did the roof?
Pus într-o
So it was about the wall, or they insulated a wall,
Gips.
like gypsum, or
Nu pot să le descriu.
I could not describe now, but I could not tell about the expenses now. I could request this from the company, but they more or less created some conditions for me to be able to work in there.
Dețineți două terenuri.
Let's see now. You have two land plots in Trușeni village, Trușeni commune. The first land plot you bought in 2010 from
Zaharia Tatiana.
Zaharia Tatiana,
Anterior,
and before that,
doamna Zaharia
Madam Zaharia obtained that land plot
fiind
based
repartizat la primărie,
on a distribution from the town hall, the mayoralty in
înțeleg eu, 10 ani.
1993. I understand
și
it's
este
10
extravilan.
acres.
Și conform contractului, l-ați fi
The
cumpărat
area, the
acest
surface, and according to the
teren în
contract, you
2010
bought this
cu
land
1000
plot in
lei.
2010 for 1,000 lei.
Cum ați reușit să negociați?
How
un
did you
preț atât
manage
de bun
to
pentru un
get
teren?
such a good bargain?
A fost o simulare.
It was not a negotiation, it was a simulation of contract.
Anterior,
Because
făcusem
previously
cunoștinți cu doamna Zaharia,
I met
fiica
Madame
Madame
Zaharia through her daughter Zaharia Anna. She was studying and have a power of attorney from her daughter. She was studying in Craiova in economy, and my older son Eugeniu was studying in Tudor Arghezi institution. And when I went for 1st of September to visit him, I met them at that moment in 2006, it seems.
M-am întors înapoi cu
So
mașina.
I came back
Era de Republica Moldova,
by
mai multe persoane.
car, where we had several people in that car. So I agreed to offer them a service without some remuneration. So because we didn't know them before the college, but after that I agreed to take them
Am ajutat-o de vreo
to
două ori,
Moldova,
careva,
and after that I helped them
fără
a
plată.
few times
Avea niște
pro
credite
bono.
la niște instituții de
They had
microfinanțare,
some
m-am dus în instituția
loans
de
taken
prealadă.
from a
Asta a fost,
pre-financing
primele
institution.
relații
I
cu doamna
developed
Zaharia.
some
Haideți să facem un pas
agreement with
înapoi.
them, and
Ați
these were the
folosit
first
cuvântul
interactions with Madame Zaharia.
simulare.
Well, let's go a little
De ce a
bit
fost
back.
necesar să
You
faceți simulare?
mentioned
Deci acest
the
contract
word
nu
simulation.
are
Why did you
valoare.
have to do a simulation? Well, this
Ulterior,
contract has no
când
value.
s-au stabilit niște
Yes, well, let
relații,
me tell you.
eu aveam niște
Afterwards, we
economii
have
cu
established some relations. I had some savings.
Anterior,
Even
am
though,
avut niște economii, lucrasem
given the
la
fact that previously I
Iris
worked
Moldova,
with
finanțată
Iris
de
Moldova,
USAID, și
funded by
atunci,
USAID, and
salariul
in
la
1998, the salary at USAID amounted to $800 per month. It was a huge salary at that moment for Moldova.
am avem niște economii.
So at that moment I had some savings, and we intended to buy real estate in Chisinau,
Casă pe pământ, adică
but to have a dwelling, a house
erau în vârstă și
on the land,
trebuia
not an
să-
apartment.
În perspectivă, nu. Și atunci, economiile este le mai
And at that
dețineam.
moment, I still had these savings.
Economiile vândusem un
I also
autoturism,
had savings because I
două
sold
autoturisme,
two
dar
cars
au fost
previously,
matriculate în,
but these cars were registered in Romania. I could show you, present you the
când făceam
certificate of registration. I can show you the proof when I was studying in my PhD.
Hai să ne întoarcem totuși la întrebare.
I can show you the
aici
proofs in
erau
this.
niște economii acumulate la
I
mine.
had some savings at that
Doamna
moment,
Zaharia,
and
la
Madam
moment,
Zaharia at
practicam
that
activitate
moment
de
was
întreprinzător, avea
working as
patent de
entrepreneur. She
întreprinzător
had
la
the
piața
entrepreneur patent. She was working at the central market,
centrală. Și m-a rugat
based
să
on a
împrumut
patent.
niște bani.
and
Prima
she
dată am
asked me
2000
to
de euro, de
lend her some
3000
money. First time was 2,000 and then 3,000 euro.
Deci, dumneavoastră mi-a spus că are
So she
loturi de
told me
vânzare
that
și
she
trebuia
had
să
some
procure
land
cineva.
plots
A
that
renunțat
needed to be
și mi-a
bought.
propus să nu
Someone
vreau să-i dau
refused
în contul
to buy the land
lotului
plots, so she asked me,
adică în contul
would you like
banilor,
to
lotul.
get
La
the
notar
land
am mers,
plot
deci
for the
este o
money
modalitate
you
de
lent
stingere a
me?
obligațiilor, stingere
So at that moment it
prin
was a
compensare.
way
Și atunci,
to compensate those financial
i-am
obligations
spus că
or
dumneavoastră prefera să-mi fac
to
contract de
repay.
donații.
So she preferred to give me the land plot
M-am
as a donation.
gândit fiindcă donația în timp de an poate fi revocat și atunci
So I thought that donation during 1 year could be revoked, and in that case I said, let's make sure that we have a price indicated
lotul respectiv. Dar
that was not lower than the real price.
De ce a fost problema? Că înțeleg că ați primit peste
What was the issue at that moment? Because I understand that those were your savings, legal savings from the salary. So what was the issue to declare the real price in that contract of 2 or 3,000 euro?
la moment eu mă dumnei ca să stâng creditul.
So in order for her at that moment to cover the credit, she decided to give me better a donation
Chiar simbolic, dar
or to have this sale for a symbolic price, but that would not contradict the cadastral value.
asta a fost pur și simplu
Prețul real e între 23.000 de
So
euro.
basically, the real price is between 2 and 3,000 euro.
dacă să luăm în total,
But
al
if
doilea
looking
lot,
per general, for the second lot, land plot, I indicated the price.
era 50.000 de lei.
It was 50,000 lei, about 2,500 euro.
De ce e dacă primul a fost spontan,
So if for the first land plot, the
al doilea a fost
case, the
în baza
action was spontaneous, the second was more.
Și al doilea lot.
So for the second land plot that we were to discuss about, you obtain it somehow also from Madame Zaharia, but this land plot belonged to her parents previously, right?
mi-a promis că
Yeah,
oricum
well,
o parte din bani mi-a
She promised me that she will repay me part of this money, but I did not insist. I had a notice from her on that
eu creștinesc.
in that sense, but she had some issues, she had some health conditions with her daughter, and I did not insist on that.
Dobândă și fără termen. Asta a
So
fost,
I agreed to her to repay back the money without any interest rate and within any deadline.
Sau spuneți dacă am înțeles corect.
So let's clarify if I understood it correctly. So you landed for total 5,000 euro to Madame Maria, and in exchange for those land plots, for those money, you got these 2 land plots. That's the basic idea, yes? Exactly.
dar ele nu erau cu titlul,
Și
era titlul de agricol.
Casa despre care am
And
discutat
the
este pe
house
aceste
you
loturi.
mentioned is on those land plots? No.
Titlul agricol.
These land plots are agricultural lands, are cropping lands, let's say so. The land plot where the house is in the cadastral registry is written Republic of Moldova.
Așa. Deci casa în care aveți
So
vizită
the
de
house
ședință
where you
aparține
have
de asemenea
the
părinților
residence
doamnei
visa, it belonged also to the parents of Madame
care au
Zaharia.
transmis-o
Yes,
prin
right.
moștenire doamnei
And
Zaharia,
it was inherited
iar
by Madame
aceasta
Zaharia from
i-a
them.
donat oficii
And
ei.
she, the latest one, donated it to her daughter, yes?
Era condiționată
Yes.
de niște situații că
There were some conditions that determined her to do this. The husband applied for divorce or filed for divorce, and in order to not have this sharing of the property, she donated the
partajare, fiindcă
land plot or the land plot to the daughter in order to avoid this property sharing, because
Fiica
there
ei
might be
este,
situations when
aceeași
the
persoană
relations
care ați
is
spus că era
confirmed.
colegă cu fiul dumneavoastră la facultate?
So it's the daughter of
în licee
the daughter that you said was a colleague of your son's. Yes, yeah, they basically were studying in different colleges, but
cu toate că până la urmă fiica nu a
my son studied at Tudor Arghezi High School, but her daughter had some health issues and she did not graduate from college, and she came back for some medical intervention.
Așa. Deci, ne-am clarificat. Deci nu este,
Okay, we are
n-au
clear
existat,
about that.
înseamnă că donații
So
simulate
there were
sau
no
contracte
simulated
de întreținere de
donations
viață.
or
Este vorba de
life
compensarea unui
maintenance or insurance
împrumut.
contracts for insuring for a lifetime. These were basically loans, yes? Right.
Așa. Ați putea să spuneți dacă ați păstrat legătura
Could you
cu
tell us
aceste
if you
persoane?
have kept
Și care
relations with
este
these people,
relația
and
dintre
what's
dumneavoastră și
now the status of relations between you
doamna Zaharia
and
Tatiana,
Madame
fiica
Zaharia
doamnei,
Tatiana, the
respective
daughter
în
of
ce
the
sens
respective
întreb?
lady? Why am I asking this? Because one of your cars
este registrat ca
is
fiind
registered
propriet de
as
uzufruct.
having
Doamna
the right of
Zaharia,
usufruct with Madam
Renault
Zaharia.
Space,
Renault Space.
automobilul.
Da, desigur.
Yes, of course.
La moment, mașina e
Currently,
accidentată.
The
Nu știu
car
în ce
has
parcare se
been
află
through an
acum.
accident.
Dar,
I don't know in what parking lot she is being for now, but when Madame Zaharia used to live in Italy
la concubin ceva.
with
Și
the
m-a rugat să fac procură
cohabitants, something like this, she asked me to draft a power of attorney for
Că
her.
la moment când a fost transmis
Because at the moment when
autoturismul
the
respectiv,
car was
doamna
given
Zaharia
for
se ocupa cu
rent,
activitatea de întreprinzător. Și era convenabilă
she
cu
was
autoturismul
working as
respectiv,
entrepreneur, and
fiindcă era
it was
încărcător.
okay to
Avea
have that
7
car
locuri,
because it was
putea
quite
scaune,
big.
pleca
It
la
had
reuniuni
7
după masă, chestii.
places. She could
Asta
travel
era
to get the
preferința ei.
commodities,
Eu,
the,
la moment, cu
the
tendința
goods to be
ca
sold.
să o procure
So
ulterior.
it was with the
Exact un pas, nu?
intention to be bought later on.
I-ați transmis, doamne, în
So
posesie,
let's
de
clarify.
fapt.
You gave that lady in possession or in some in comodatum or
Eu vreau să
somehow
iau o mașină mică
some
și am
leasing.
spus că, uite, dacă
some
te
rent.
aranjează, o iei în locul
So I told her basically that if it's okay with you, you could take it for rent, and later on you could buy it from me. But later on in time, the car has been in an accident. I don't know if it can be repaired. So I did not do this to get some benefits from the lease of this
În
car.
continuare locuiți în acea casă.
So currently, you still live in that house. You have the office registered in that house. No, the office is registered in Bardar. I did not change the office location. I intended to suspend the location during the process because I created the Center for Promotion and Reform of the Justice. Okay, sorry, but let's go back to the question.
Pentru folosința acestui immobil.
For the use of this real estate, are you paying some rent?
Da, desigur.
But you are paying the
Chiar
utilities,
unele
yes.
contracte
And even some contracts with some specific services like sanitation and others, the contracts were, I signed them. And moreover, in 2014, that person did not come back to the country to sign or to issue another power of attorney to me. And Madame Zaharia or even her kids, or brothers or sisters, when they come to their parents' house, they do not stay there, but they are just glad that the house is okay, is not ruined.
Am înțeles.
Well, we are living there alone, yes? Yes, that's right. Mr. Rusu, you have mentioned that this house you initially obtained it for the purpose of selling it in order to repay some debts of Madame Zaharia. Could you tell us what was the total amount of the debt at that moment, the debts that Madame Zaharia had? It was about 30,000, like the value of that real estate. I think it was more because someone filed an application in the court with her. And this was calculated in the regime of anatocism from 5,000 euro, and it was about 36,000. Yes, I represented her in court, but in the end we did not succeed in the case because the initial action related to 36,000 only for one loan, and in that case, in either way, it could not cover the debts. So we understand that the house was not sold, but who then paid the debts of Madame Zaharia? I did, partially. Well, even in 2014, she, an amount of money was borrowed from my cousin, or I borrowed, and in that moment the debts were partially repaid. I think now there are some interest rates that need to be paid. Could you tell us to what entities? Credite pentru toți or credit for all in translation. Agroind Bank, at that moment it was $10,000. So you personally worked on repaying those debts during these years. How many years?
Agroim Bank,
Well, for Agroim Bank, I could not recall now because there was a relative intervening there.
a achitat
And they paid the loan. The last delay or last installment was about 30,000 lei to be paid. So we understood it correctly that you have contributed to the repayment of the debts of Madame Zaharia from your own incomes.
Deci,
No.
când s-a întors în 2014,
When she came back in 2014,
ei a fost cu familia, cu membrii
she
familiei,
was together with her
întâmplător
family
vării,
members,
era
and by accident we had her cousin coming, and at that moment a loan contract was signed, a notice was issued. She got a 10,000 euro, but this amount was repaid in installments.
eliberate, eșalonat în funcție de deci el deține o recipisă.
So the cousin, that person has a notice signed issued by Madame Zacharie because all the family was present, and that cousin was with his wife at that time. This was in the winter of 2014. So during 10 years, Madame Zacharie allowed you to live in that house and has no,
Din contră se bucură.
Dacă
vă uitați la
I don't know, something to say to you, some contradictions or no. On the contrary, she's glad that I stayed there because I could take care of the house. I've established something in that house, and my cousin, who is a builder, also helped me. They offered me also some construction materials, and I could work on this house. So currently, you don't have any power of attorney that you could use to sell the house. No, it was expired because it was issued in 2013, and in 2017 it was the due date, the expiry date. And I have a copy that could confirm these things. As proof, I have another power of attorney, which was issued at that moment. I can show you to prove the relation between these elements. So, to have a conclusion on the subject of the real estate, you had the power of attorney from Madame Tatiana Zaharia, from Zahariana, the daughter, 10 September 2013. It was from Zahariana, who is the current owner. So we had issued a declaration at that moment, and the health condition that she had at that moment allowed her to issue this condition. Now she had an issue with the kidneys and with the mandibula. It was not related to some mental condition. So let's go back to the next aspect related to the CEP, consumption expenditures. So in order to establish or to calculate exactly your consumption expenditures and to calculate the difference between the incomes and expenses, we need to clarify some circumstances. In your declaration, you've indicated that till 2014 you have cohabited with the mother of your two sons, my wife at that moment, and it derives that you had a common household with two adults and two children, two minors. Could you explain, please, what was your household membership after 2014 or starting with 2014? It's not clear, the question. So we understand that 10th of June 2013 you started to live alone. You had no more dependents. No. So all living expenditures were incurred by you, starting from 2014 until now.
Din
Yes, you're
2014
right.
până acum, ați
So since
suportat cheltuieli
2014
pentru
until
alți
now,
membri ai
did you
familiei
have
dumneavoastră?
any expenditure for other family or
Științesc
family
de
members,
copii legate
meaning related to some
de
children?
puteți să le detaliați?
Yes. Could you elaborate more on that?
Ce fel de categorii de cheltuieli? în
What
legătură cu-
kind of expenses and in relation to what?
Când mergeam la 1 septembrie,
When
să-și
I
procur toate
went
rechizițiile,
for the
învățămintele,
1st of September to buy
cel mai
the
mare dădea-
stationery, the clothes for the education, for the youngest one, but the older one was working in a company, microfinancing company, well, he did not
Mai mult ca atât.
need
Când,
support. And
am
moreover,
intrat la facultate,
when
în
he
natură
was
posibilități,
admitted to the
ajutam
faculty,
când pleca, în drumul,
in
chestii,
limit in
produse,
according to my possibilities, I would help them with
Puteți
different
face
food
estimare
products and
pe
so on.
cheltuieli lunare, cam câți
Could you
bani pe lună
estimate monthly
alocați
how
pentru aceste
much
cheltuieli?
money were you allocating for these expenses?
de exemplu, acum când
Well, let's say, for example, when
150 de euro.
50
recently
de euro pe lună.
Nu,
calculated,
50 de euro am dat, dar pe lună...
recently I gave him 150 euro,
Când
but
are-
monthly,
nu, că dacă să iau așa,
I could not say.
anual, nu depășește 1000 de euro.
if yearly calculating per year, it would not go beyond 1,000 euro.
Exact.
But I could not say more
Așa.
precisely.
Asta ar fi cheltuieli care dumneavoastră le
And this
suportați
would be the
voluntar. Adică
expenditures
nu
you are
există
incurring
alte-
voluntarily.
nu,
There are
atenție
no
alimentară
other
sau-
expenses like
Nu,
the
nu, nu,
alimony
nu.
or something else.
Cât a
No.
locuit la Bardar,
As long as they
cât
lived
că
in
după ce au
Bardar,
plecat la liceu,
and
acolo
moreover,
avea
after
totul
they went
gratuit.
there to
mai
study in
bine
high
decât,
school, everything there is for
celălalt
free.
băiat a trăit,
And
era
the other boy,
cinste hotel, era-
when
umblau
where he
mult.
lived, they lived in the hotel. They were eating in specific health conditions to live, basically.
La facultate a avut cămin.
In the
Primul an,
faculty,
ulterior,
he was living in a
Vorbeam
dormitory.
Despre aceasta.
Well, so this was
Aveți
the question
costuri
about
legate
it.
de
Now,
studiile
about the
fiilor
costs
dumneavoastră mai
related to
mici
the
în
education
România.
of your younger son in Romania. Do you have some?
Nu contract.
But he is based on a scholarship, let's say. So he
Poate
is not
chirie,
paying for the
nu.
studies, has
bani
no
de
contract.
buzunar, rechizite, cărți.
There's no tuition fee.
Cărțile deja
Uh,
sunt
well,
responsabile
if we look at the books or
săracii
something else, renting,
nu are nevoie de decât
well, for the books, I'm the responsible one. He does not need so many books because I am the one who could consult.
unica ceea ce a fost
The
acum,
only thing
când
that
am împrumutat bani de la vără,
when I needed some money to land, to borrow from my cousin was when he wanted to get his driver's license, and I gave him
dar asta a
300,
fost înainte de
but this was
Alte costuri nu suportați.
before. No other cost that you would incur.
locuiește împreună cu prietena sa. în
He
apartament,
lived together with his girlfriend,
Apartamentul
with
cui?
his partner in the apartment of her father.
Am înțeles.
Okay, I see.
Acolo în declarație am scris că
I put down a declaration where they live with, where he lives with whom, and moreover, he had some savings. Last year he went to USA for work, so I could help him depending on my possibilities.
Domnul Rusu, o să trecem la următoarea chestiune.
Mr. Rusu, let's go now to the next question related to your incomes from the activity as a lawyer. According to the official data obtained from the state tax service, your net income obtained from the law activity as an attorney till 2022 was
647 de lei.
29,364 lei.
Prima întrebare ar fi
193,647 lei. Sorry.
și altor venituri
Except for
salariale.
these fees as a lawyer, as an attorney, and other salary
Ați
incomes.
avut orice alte venituri?
Did you
în
have
perioada
any other kind of
2008-2022
sources
care
of income
nu au
during
fost reflectate sau nu au fost
2008,
raportate la serviciul fiscal
2022,
de
which
stat?
were not reported to the STS, State Tax Service?
Deci, La moment când activam
At the moment when I was working as a teacher, it was my income as a teacher, as a professor. And moreover, in that period, I had a few contracts focused on legal assistance or legal services provision, but the 5% were deducted. Another company, Taraclia Transportation Company, that were withdrawing the taxes of 5% from the service provision. What kind of contracts do you talk about? Legal assistance contracts.
Și rețineau la sursă?
And it was taxes perceived at the source? This was for what period? Till 2008, till I got my license. I cannot remember now because the companies went bankrupt. I had a license from Taraclia, but they mostly helped me with the food products. It was an agricultural company, Bantushan something. There were no such high incomes established, and some other incomes from two projects with Soros during. I could not remember the period. It was an analytical program for a banking program.
Ați menționat azi IREX,
So
USAID.
you mentioned about the USAID,
Uneori,
IREX,
în aceste
Soros.
sunt din experiența
So some
noastră,
of these projects, according to our experience, would not withdraw taxes. So no taxes were taken from USAID.
Când a fost acest?
And the question is, when did this happen? During the assessment period till 2022? Or no, it was after. So we are interested before. Sorry. So we are interested in the period. Assessment period. Did you have other incomes that could not be reflected, reported at the tax service? As you mentioned, the USAID project. Did you have some other similar projects? Well, I could have had some occasional incomes, some payments, because when people have some difficulties, they might contract a lawyer. And we might get a contract in that sense. I was engaged in several processes, but not as a lawyer because I did not have my license at that time, my authorization. And I was paid per session.
Așa. Conform acelor
but I didn't remember how much.
de la Serviciul Fiscal de Stat,
So according to data from the SCS in 2018, you had a net income 2,555,000 lei, and later more than 3,000 lei, and this was the annual income. How did you survive with this around 3,000 lei per year? You mean about 2022? In 2022, your net income was 389 lei. I do not recall right now. There were some incidental or some occasional works. In 2022, I had a contract of legal assistance with Andromat. Because I prefer now to have all my payments transferred to my account, so I do not remember. Well, our question is that it is hard for us to understand that it was possible to survive having such an amount plus any other expenses. So at some specific moment, I had to sell some pieces, some books from my collection, a batch of books. In what year? I think I mentioned this in the declaration, in 2022. It was in 2022. I could not mention that now. Or in 2022, I sold a set of furniture of 25,000 lei. So to explain you, when I even was selling something from my goods,
încasate plățile
payments were taken in installments, were received in installments. For example, the library I sold or the bookcase I sold was received in 1 year and a half a year.
Ce fel de lot de carte?
Let's go in a little bit of details.
Autor,
What
numele în orice.
series of books, author or something else?
exemplar, 14 volume de
I'm sorry, I did not have an version. I have 14 volumes of Alexandrescu from the library of Hierovanu. It was a rare book.
fost vândute cu
It was sold when I purchased it. I was paid in installments, 500 euro the first installment, but this was not depending on the book because that book had to be kept in my library, but I had to sell it because I had some financial issues. The person who offered me that 500 euro was like an advance payment for that Lexus car, which was not registered with me. They came from Moscow and wanted to reestablish in Moldova.
Întrebare simplă, răspuns scurt, vă rog.
I lost track of this. Short answers, please. 14 volumes of Alexandrescu. 1,400 euro in total. Yes.
Și asta în ce an?
Which year?
Eu am scris.
I put this down. It was mentioned in the declaration. So they were paid in installments. I think the first installment was in 2020 or 2021. Because in the questions that raised doubts, I did not see this question and I did not prepare for this. The Commission also identified a set of international transfers that you received through international transfer systems like MoneyGram and Western Union. The total amount is of approximately 4,700 euro coming from Italy, Israel, and the Russian Federation. The persons sending this were Luchita Galina, Tatiana Zaharia, and Mishina Valentina. These amounts were not included in your income declarations for VM12 and DAJ. Can you explain the nature or the purpose of these transfers? First of all, this is incorrect because what was transferred by Luchita from Israel was in dollars. And what was transferred from Russia was also in dollars. What was transferred by Tatiana Zaharia was in euro. But are the amounts correct? The amount? I think yes. I forgot. Just the currency is different. Yes, the currency is different. But for Luchita, I did not have the attorney license yet. There were some difficulties with the partition of the joint assets of the spouses, and they had to have this file for the cadastre urgently, and this amount was transferred. It was $1,000 based on a power of attorney, and I represented Luchita. And I had the template for the power of attorney. So there are two transfers from Madame Luchita, each for $1,000. One for the 14th of February 2013 and the second on the 24th of May 2013. The question is, was this the fee for legal services? No, I think this was the amount for legal services. Well, if I could find the power of attorney, I could tell you when this divorce contract was, and they had to have the partition. They did not have the documents for that property, real estate property, and they asked me to urgently do these papers for the cadastre. I don't remember the amounts, but these amounts were spent. So 2,000 euros were auxiliary costs, state fees, and the fees for having the technical documentation. Yes, I think there was some construction materials involved. And there was a
Detaliile astea au fost
permission,
13.
permissive documentation for the oldest daughter.
Cred că, da, 13.
I think this was in 2013, yes, because in
Hai să vă răspuns
2012.
atunci, care e relația dumneavoastră cu
So
acest
tell me,
cu
what
această
is your
persoană?
relationship
Este
with this
rude,
person?
nu
Is a relative? No, it was
nu
a
este
friend of
relație de
my
avocat
wife's.
client.
So this is not a client
atunci
attorney
când am
relationship.
mers
No,
în
because
procesul de
when
desfacere a
we
căsătoriei,
went
n-am mers
for the
pe mandat de
divorce
avocat, am mers pe
process,
bază de procură care ne-a
we didn't use
defectat în
my status
Israel
as
cu apostolizarea cursului.
Da, ce
attorney.
onorare
We
ați
used
făcut pentru acest
this like an power of attorney or an apostille from Israel. What was the fee? $300 not more.
Transferurile operate de doamna
And the
Zaharia
transfers
din Italia,
made by Madame
care
Zaharia
era
from Italy.
destinația lor?
What was the purpose for them?
Ea singură nu se aduce
I
aminte.
called her. She doesn't
Deci
remember
pot să
either.
înregistrez discuția, dar
So I can record
dumnei
our
activează.
discussion.
Am vrut să transmit numărul de telefon ca să vă
I wanted to
convingeți
give you
că
her
au fost
phone
niște
number
sume,
so that
cred
you
că am
can be
împrumutat
convinced
de
of
la
this.
cineva
So
și să-i remit datorie.
she borrowed
Dar
the
eu nu ne amintesc,
debt from
adică
someone
dacă
and
ea
I had
singură
to
nu se
send
amintește, pe mine să
the
dea de
debt,
persoană.
but
Cu alte
she
cuvinte,
doesn't remember herself.
în aceste sume dumneavoastră ați acționat ca un
So
intermediar.
you were like an intermediary, a proxy for this amount. So you received the money from Madame Zaharia to give it to someone else.
O sumă
Yes,
fără unei verișoare.
I think this was an amount that had to be given to a cousin who could not receive the money. And could you tell us what is the relationship with Madame Mishina, from whom you received $1,000 from the Russian Federation? We had a legal assistance contract. We went to the court in Elveni. There were two files there, but actually it was one file.
Prima instanță.
And the first cause decided in her favor. The decision was annulled. This is not that important. Well, this decision of the court was annulled, and we had the second court. These are details that are not important for our assessment, but this amount is the legal assistance fee. No, this was to be paid because the first decision was annulled because there was not a report, forensic report. Paid for to whom? To the expert. And you paid it yourself? No, I did not pay it because the file was closed. And how did you pay it? To Madame Mishina, in cash, yes. So we should understand that none of these amounts is a fee for legal services. Maybe the first amount from Israel, the $400. Yes, I don't remember. If it's from Lukica, then that amount could have been the fee for the divorce and for preparing the file for the partition. But the others, what fee did Madame Mishina pay for your services? If this $1,000 was not for your services, she paid an advance payment when we had the contract, and I was about. Well, I had to close the file, and it was 10% of the value of the litigation. And because this was closed, she paid an advanced payment of 5,000 lei when we assigned the mandate.
Comisia a identificat o serie de
The Commission identified a set of cases in the integrated system for the management of cases. So there's a set of cases, and they should be on the screen in front of you. Let me So tell us what the situation is.
Da, rog colegii să mărească imaginea.
So I would like to ask the colleagues to zoom on the
Putem
image.
să uitați peste ele și dacă
Please
se
take
dacă
a
recunoașteți,
look
să
at these cases
cunosc
and
pe
let me know
denumirile
if
cauzelor tale.
the names of these cases seem familiar to you. Yes, of course, they are familiar to me.
În aceste dosare,
Mr. Rusu, in these cases, did you receive a fee? Yes, of course.
Și toate onorarele au fost raportate la
And
fisc.
were all fees reported to the tax authority?
Prin transfer.
Yes, they were all sent by
Toți
transfer.
acești clienți au
So
achitat
all
prin
these clients made bank transfers to you? Yes.
și toate au fost raportate.
And they were all reported.
Sunt
Reprezentarea doamnei Zaharia în perioada 2008-2014
The fact that you represented Madam Zaharia between 2008 and 2014
sau în baza relației
was based on a fee or based on your friendship?
servicii gratis.
pro bono.
The services were free of charge. So pro bono. Yes, I understand.
O să discutăm acum despre alte chestiuni.
Now we
care
will
tot
discuss
țin de
another
activitatea de
topic that
avocat.
is also related to your activity as an attorney.
Din informația obținută
Based on the
din
information
surse oficiale,
that
rezultă că
we received
în
from
anul
official sources,
2021 nu ați achitat
it is
contribuția de
visible
asigurare
that
socială
in
individuală
2021 you did not pay for the social
care se achită de
contribution
liberi profesioniști din domeniul
that is
justiției.
paid by
Suma pentru
those
anul
that work
2021 era de
as freelancers,
24.255 de lei.
this was approximately
Puteți confirma
255 lei. Can
este
you
corect că nu
confirm
ați achitat-o sau
whether
poate
this
ați
is
achitat-o și
correct?
nu am depistat
You
noi
did not
informația.
pay it, or maybe you paid it and we did not see the information. I confirm that it was not paid. This was
Am fost angajat
an error on a formal one because in that period I was working for the Cooperative and Commercial University. I'm not sure for how many months because I
din contul universității,
took
pentru că nu putem să
an acceptance, and this was paid from by the university because we did not have the double payment. Then we had the pandemic, and I thought the payments were still ongoing.
Pentru 2 luni v-au
And
achitat
for
din
those
salariului.
2 months they paid
2021.
from your salary for
Acolo nu
2021.
despre ce luni.
I don't remember for which months, but I have an excerpt and I can show it to the commission.
Atunci eu am observat, dar acum
And
Ce ați făcut când ați
And
aflat că nu
what did you do when you found out that this was not paid? I did not do anything. I was waiting to have some incomes, additional incomes, surplus, so that I paid.
Și oricum ați lechit, fiindcă
I will pay
perioada
for
care
it
mă aflu
anyway
acum,
because
da, nu activez
yes,
ca
now
avocat,
I'm not working as an attorney,
pretind, dar nu pot să împrumut bani ca să
but I
am
cannot
avut niște
borrow
dosare
money
care
to pay for this.
clienții nu
I
mi-au
had
dat.
some cases for which the clients did not pay for my services, and if I receive my fees, then I will pay for this
Știu că merg penalități.
because I know that there are penalties that can be
Hai să
charged.
discutăm despre
Now let's discuss
autoturisme.
about the cars.
Am discutat mai devreme despre
We
Renault
discussed
Espace și
about
despre
the
usufruct.
Renault Espace and usufruct.
Am discutat mai
So
devreme
we
despre
discussed
Renault,
about
autoturismul Renault Espace și
The Renault Espace
dreptul de uzufruct
and the right of
înregistrat
usufruct
cu doamna Zaharia.
registered on the name
Înțelegem
of
că a
Madam
fost
Zaharia.
mai mult un fel de comodat din
I
partea
understand that it
noastră
was
oferit
mostly
doamnei Zaharia.
comodatum
titlul de
contract for
precizare.
Madam Zaharia. Like, as a
Doamna Zaharia v-a
clarification,
plătit
did
vreo sumă
Madam
pentru utilizarea
Zaharia
acestui
pay
autoturism?
any amounts for using this car? She wanted to buy this car to carry out her entrepreneurship activities. Who is paying for the technical inspection, for the road taxes? Well, this is not going on, it's not on the roads, it is in a parking lot. I was asked to issue a power of attorney for a cousin. Did you do this? Yes, because I knew that Madam Zaharia. So, since you gave it to Madam Zaharia, you haven't paid anything. No, it is not functional. The car was damaged. I have the photos. I'm not sure if it can be fixed. It's Hajdeu. I don't know the name of the person, but I made a power of attorney for the person. It is the cousin of the concubine of Madam Zaharia. What year was it from? So I could mention that we can check when the tax fee was paid. Since that moment, the car was not in function anymore. You are also the owner of a Lexus RX 300, a model year 2006, which was purchased in 2018 from Mr. Postolache for 20,000 lei. In your declarations, you mentioned that it was registered on you, but actually it was bought by Madam Kafkaliuk Olga from Postolache Dumitru for 8,700 euro. Could you explain your declaration, given the fact that in the sales and purchase contract you also acted on behalf of Madam Kafkaliuk based on a power of attorney? Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, I can mention the following. I offered the incorrect price because when I submitted the declaration, Madam Kafkaliuk was in the hospital. Later, these days, I received the number of the previous owner, Mr. Postolache Dumitru. I called him today, he did not answer, but this car was purchased for 7,800, not 8,700 euro, because from what I remembered, it was 8,000. So I remember that it was 8,700. And I wanted to have a certain registration plate number. I had purchased a car in Cimișlia or Grigorie Cibotari, I don't remember. But it doesn't matter. In order to have a preferential plate number, you had to pay quite a high amount. And I got this from the internet. This is from between 1,500 euros and 5,500 euros. And I said she could take this license plate and use it for her car. Because if you look at the contract for sale, a power of attorney is mentioned from 2018. But the power of attorney issued by Kafkaliuk was issued by the previous owner, Postolache, in August 2018. So I can give you the copy of the power of attorney. So you can go to Mr. Postolache. Then I accompanied Madam Kafkaliuk using my car, and the price mentioned was more than 8,000 euro. What is your relationship with Madam Kafkaliuk and Mr. Postolache? I don't know Postolache. Mr. Postolache placed an ad on 999 for this car, but Madam Kafkaluke is the general manager for the private law and judiciary reform center. So you are colleagues, yes. This was the reason.
Care e logica să înregistrați
So what's the logic to have this on your name if the lady is using it?
Declarații.
I explained in my declaration, according to the regulation for the registration of cars, it is not allowed to give preferential numbers to a third party. So this is not legally
Eu
possible.
ca să-l pun la depozit,
monopolul statului.
ca să-l pun la depozit,
So this is the monopoly of the state.
sau 200 de lei pe lună.
For to have it in the deposit, I had to pay 100 and 200 lei per month because I registered this as a VIP number.
5.000 sau de
So
5.000 de
this,
euro costă un număr preferențial.
you've seen that a preferential number costs 5,000 euro on 999.md. So this was like a favor. Yes, we are colleagues. You did not have any benefits. No, so you did not sell these numbers. No, she is doing the accountancy for the center. She's working in the magazine in the center. Did Madam Kafkaliuk pay 7,800? Yes, she paid this in cash. Before that, she used to work for different companies. She used to work abroad, and she had enough funds to purchase this
În
car.
contractul de vânzare-cumpărare ați semnat
In the
sales
sales contract, you declared that the price is 20,000 lei, and this is the real price. In the declaration, you mentioned, and today you confirmed that the price was a different one, 7,800 euro. Could you explain
explicați dacă cum considerați dumneavoastră dacă
what
indicarea unui
do you
preț
think
fictiv
mentioning
într-un
a
contract de
fictitious
vânzare-cumpărare
price in a sales
înregistrat,
contract that is registered?
este sau nu o încălcare a legii
Is
și dacă
this
corespunde
a violation of the law or not? And is
etice a
this
unui
in line
profesionist în
with
domeniul
the
juridic.
ethical standards for a legal professional?
Domnul vicepreședinte, eu
Yes,
spun că în
Mr.
aparență, da,
Vice
e
Chair,
o încălcare de
apparently
etică.
this is a violation
Dar,
of the
Dacă
ethics.
ținem cont
But if we take into
de un
account
principiu de drept roman,
a Roman
Sunt
law
juste în
principle,
atunci nu putem să vorbim.
We cannot
decide
say.
dacă o lege este injustă?
who decides whether a law is not fair? Who decides?
Instanța.
The court.
Cum a fost luată decizia de a indica acest
How
preț
did you
în
take
contract?
the decision to
Spontan.
mention
Deci, au fost
this
pe
price?
mi-a dat să
This was
semnez
spontaneous.
noastră și nici nu m-am gândit.
They gave me the
toate
template and I did
urma
not think about this.
ulterior,
Although
după ce am perfectat
later, after
contractul, ca să fie
we
transferat autoturismul pe
did the contract, the car was
De ce
to
nu ați
be
transferat până acum?
transferred on the name of Capul.
Autoturism, tot cu
Why
numele.
did you not
Bine,
transfer
ba,
the
plecat pe psihotare,
car
ba, să
with the
nu-
numbers? Because she
ulterior,
went abroad and she
apăruse
got
idei ca
sick.
să-l
And
trecem
then we had the
pe
idea
drept
of
privat, că
registering
multe
it
activități
on
care au fost
the
efectuate de
private
către
law center
doamna
because
Căcăliuc, erau mai mult în numele Centrului de Privat
activities
și a revistei
of
de
Madame
drept.
Kafkaliuk were mostly dedicated to the center and the
Superevaluat a
magazine.
fost declarat pentru a evita
Can you say that this lower price was declared in such a way in order to avoid paying taxes by the seller?
Făcut în
No.
și o donație.
We could have had the donation. You know what the issue is? The citizens might
Derivă din
come
inadvertențele
across
legale
some
sau
difficulties.
regulamentare.
These are based on different inconsistencies in the
Cetățenii sunt
law.
încătușați în
And
anumite
this is why the
drepturi și
citizens
libertăți.
don't have the freedom to enjoy some
Germania de
rights and liberties.
cerere, ai transferat numărul,
In Germany,
dar
you submit a
care a
request
fost,
and you transfer the number.
tergiversare. Mai
And
mult cu
why
atât
was
că
this
pe
delayed?
perioada cât a fost rematriculat
During the period
autoturismul,
when
a fost
the
instalată,
car was registered,
stație de gaz
there was a gas system
autoturismul
installed
respectiv.
for that
ca
car.
să-l rematriculezi,
And in order to
trebuia să
register it
schimbi din nou
again,
pașaportul tehnic.
I had to change the technical
Și
documentation.
atunci apăreau cheltuieli suplimentare. Dar n-a
And
fost
this would
făcut cu scopul de a
involve
evita
additional
achitarea unor impozite.
payments, but this was not in order to avoid paying taxes.
Deci, spontan, la moment eu
So this was spontaneous.
așa,
In that
un,
moment,
Ce autoturism? Am înțeles. Ce
I
autoturism
understand.
dețineți la moment?
what
la
cars
moment,
do you own at
sunt
this moment?
înmatriculate pe mine
Now I have
semi-remorca
a
Stema.
semi-trailer
Este
Stema.
înmatriculat un Mercedes
I
care
have a
nu mi-a
Mercedes
mai aparține de vreo
that
10 ani. A
is,
fost eliberat
does
de
not belong to
procuror.
me for
Eu am
10
indicat
years.
în,
There was a power of attorney
în
issued.
declarație.
I mentioned in the
Mercedes
declaration
care a
because
fost
the Mercedes
CIR 3 de 8
with CER
a fost adus
888,
din
CIR
străinătate pe numele,
888
pe
was
numele meu,
registered
dar la rugămintea
on my
cumnatului
name, but at the
Sava
request
Valeriu.
of my
Ulterior,
brother-in-law, Sava
la
Valeriu.
străinatul Prodan Ruslan.
Well, later this person gave it to Sava Ruslan, sold it. He asked me to issue a power of attorney, and this car is now in Cojușna. I have the number. I called the person because I don't know that person, and I asked them to erase it from my records.
Recent un autoturism de model
Have you
Honda CR-V.
Recently driven Honda CR-V model year 2006
BAC 540.
BAC 600 540.
Autoturism cu acest numer
And this car with this registration plate is in the database for traffic rules violations.
Dacă,
Can you tell us
adică care e temeiul juridic?
what is the legal ground for owning this car? I don't own it, I just drive it from time to time. It belongs to the cousin of Olga Kavkaliuk, Vidrashko
Și
Alexandru.
atunci, când merg la
And when
instanță,
I go to court because he has some lawsuits, I help him free of charge, and
Am înțeles.
then I can use the car.
Pentru că noi am depistat
Because
și anumite un raport de infracțiuni
We
legat de
saw a
spargerea
crime
acestui
report
automobil în 2015.
regarding the breaking into this, the infraction of this car in 2015.
Acela era autoturism care nu mi-a aparținea.
The
Am
car
fost
from
adus
2015
după
was
trei
not
minute
mine.
până
It
la
was
Olanda,
brought
la o persoană
by me
care
from
vrea să
Holland
cumpere pe soție.
to a person who wanted to purchase it for the wife. Later, the wife changed her mind. She wanted to have an automatic car, and we sold it because but that car did not belong to me.
L-ați cumpărat dumneavoastră
How
în
did you
Olanda și
bring
în
it?
Olanda?
You purchased it in the Netherlands? Yes,
La solicitarea unui prieten.
I brought it at the request of
Nu ați
my
apucat să-l devamați.
friend. And you did not manage to do the customs clearance? No, I did not do this because later it was sold. I don't know who did the customs clearance.
Cui l-ați înstrăinat?
Who did you sell it to?
Ați vândut dumneavoastră sau cum?
Did you sell it, or how is it done?
Adică l-ați transferat
He found some.
cumpărătorului.
So you transferred it to the
Ce sumă v-a
buyer.
plătit?
Yes. What amount did he pay to you? He didn't pay any amount to me.
Dumneavoastră nu m-ați intermediat? Sau cum?
You were just an intermediary. I brought it and he told me, if you find someone to sell it, it's okay. If not, I'll try to do this. In that moment, I had a car accident with my
Haideți să facem
car
un pas
and
în
I
urmă.
was using it. Let's go
Fost în
back a
Olanda,
step.
Ați cumpărat acest
You went to the
automobil.
Netherlands
Câți bani
and
ați
you
plătit
purchased
pentru
this car. How much did you pay for it?
1.600
1,600 euros. Was this from your money? No, it was from that person. He asked me to bring him a car from the Netherlands because I had different colleagues and
V-a
friends.
remunerat pentru serviciu?
Did he pay for you for these services? No, I went free of charge.
Deci, așa, în perioada în care dumneavoastră folosiți
In the
acest
period when you were
automobil în
using this
2015,
car in
a avut
2015,
loc spargerea respectivă.
there was this
Nu l-ați înregistrat niciodată
breaking into
dumneavoastră în
this
Republica Moldova și nici nu ați
car.
făcut
You didn't register it in the Republic of Moldova, and you were not the
Am
owner. No.
înțeles. În legătură cu autoturismul Honda CR-V
regarding
2006.
the Honda CR-V model year 2006 BAC
În 2022, în august,
540.
ați trecut
In
frontiera de
August
stat cu acest
2022, you
automobil.
crossed the state
Mai aveți și
border
anumite
using this
încălcări de circulație.
car. You also have some traffic rules
Suportați
violations.
anumite orice cheltuieli
Are
legate
you
de acest
incurring
automobil.
any expenses related to this car?
Nu suport acum.
No, I'm not incurring expenses now. I don't know what the situation is.
Atunci nu eram eu la volan, nu știu.
I was not driving at that moment. I'm not sure why it was mentioned like this.
Toți de frontieră așa au indicat.
The border police mentioned this.
Valeriu Coval. La volan.
Valeriu Koval was driving.
Ok, deci înțeleg așa.
fost eu.
Răspunsul
So,
noastră este că
your
automobilul
answer
dat
is
îl
that
folosiți
this car
doar
is
în
used by
legătură cu
you
servicii care
only
le prestați
in
proprietarului.
relation to the services that you are offering to the owner. Yes. Or when we go to our parents because he has severe disabilities, and when we go to his parents, we go to Râșcani also.
Dar alte situații.
Am înțeles.
I see.
Mr. Rusu, from your answers derives that currently you use no car, actually. Is it correct?
Utilizez
Well, I use the Lexus RX 300,
fiecare zi, dar eu nici nu ies din casă.
not every day, but when I go from home. But what do you use to come to Chisinau from Turșeni? Trolleybus.
Nu ies în fiecare zi.
But so I'm telling you, I do not use this car every day. Oh, so occasionally you use the Lexus,
Ocazional un
and
Mercedes
occasionally I use a Mercedes Blue
397.
397.
Nu, tot de la prietenul meu. Eu
I'm taking it from my friend, borrowing it from my friend,
Serghei Rusu.
Serghei Rusu. But in the declaration, you agreed to indicate only these cars registered as property in your name.
Regulament
Yes, but
din 2000
in the regulation from 2017,
acolo e
there it is
prevedit de a indica
written to indicate
conform actelor
according to the documents which are included in the car registry. So I indicated, so I did this mention in the 17th point of the declaration, saying about this Lexus RX 300 with the registration number that belonged to me. I did not put in my name, but I said that it belonged to me. I had the power of attorney from the owner. I had to just to install the gas system in this car. That's why I did not re-register it, because it had some engine defect and it stopped me. But Law 133 imposes also declaration of the movable and immovable assets, those that are used by the subject. So how do you think? Did you have to indicate the other cars as used by you with the right of use? I am not subject falling under the law 133. So the declaration is submitted to the commission are according to the law 133. You are not subject of declaration, but still. Well, if I indicate all the cars that I use, I need a declaration to indicate only the cars.
Domnul Rusu, ultima întrebare.
Mr. Rusu, one last question.
De clarificare. Pentru
Clarifying question.
autoturismul,
For the car,
despre Honda am discutat.
well, we've discussed about
În legătură
Honda.
cu automobilul
Now
Lexus
about
RX 300,
Lexus
cu acest
RX 300,
automobil care
with
îl
this
folosiți,
car
înțeleg
that
eu.
you use, if you're understanding it correctly, from time to time.
Cheltuieli legate
Do
de
you
combustibil,
have
asigurare,
some
taxe de
expenses
drumuri,
for the fuel,
revizii
for
tehnice?
road taxes, technical
dumneavoastră?
examination, I don't know, technical examination? Are you paying this? Yes. I had the power of attorney expired, so I paid this tax in the name of Popescu.
Dar banii sau doamnei
Nu, le-am achitat
I paid from my money, but in the name of Popescu, because the power of attorney was expired.
Deci, numele cui, încă o dată?
So, once again, what was the name you invoked?
Noi vorbim de Lexus.
We're talking about the Lexus. What? Which exactly? Because there's two. Because they are both RX 300. What is the registration number? 38. No, it's not me who is paying. It is Olga Kafkalu who is paying. So you did not pay insurances and other payments, even though it was possible to have them in my name, but it was not me. And if you look, but why was this put in your name? Because that's how it was requested by the insurance agent or the broker. Because I had a higher insurance, and it was 10% discount or something like this. For this. But the other users, are they, or the owner is included in this insurance? Yes, but it doesn't matter because other persons are mentioned. So the wording in the insurance says other persons that might use. So the person that owns the car, therefore, is not indicated in the insurance starting from this year. But at that moment, there was a difference, saying that we needed to indicate other persons.
Vă mulțumesc, nu mai avem întrebări.
Thank you. No more questions?
Mr. Russo, we've asked the questions on the follow-up matters we wish to ask. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the Commission before we conclude today's hearing?
Do you mean the declaration according to the regulation or relating to the questions that were raised?
No, what I'm asking is if you'd like to make a brief statement of any kind before we conclude the hearing.
Da, desigur.
Yes, of course. Well, honorable members of the Commission, Mr. Chairman, the fact that I submitted my candidacy for this competition is now determined by the fact or the desire to recover my financial situation or take revenge on the judiciary. I have applied in order to humbly contribute to the improvement, having more than 30 years of experience in this sector, in order to give a hand, because we have a potential crisis in our country, and the concept of the judicial reform was a little bit confused or and if you look back at March 2023, was distorted. And if you look back at March 2023, the tendency, the attempt to have the vetting, the external evaluation according to Law 26 would be some legislative amendment, because I actually have worked on the legislation of different states and procedures of different states, European states. This is why I had to engage in this. I can show the Commission the contribution I tried to bring in so far. So not only by becoming the member of SCM or of the Disciplinary Board or Selection Board, by my contribution, because the image of the judiciary, the judicial institution depends on the people that are running or managing, administrating them. They like the people, they like the institutions. I tried to intervene, and I've sent an opinion to the SCM, to the Parliament via our center, but I don't know why we cannot manage to have this fruitful cooperation. That's why the colleagues encouraged me to apply for the position.
cât și la
both
membrul Consiliului
for
Superior al
the
Magistraturii,
SCM and Disciplinary
în ultimul
Board.
timp.
I have applied
10 minute
in
înainte de program.
last moment, 10 minutes
Nu
before
m-a
the
putut
program
să-
was closed.
nu e o
I was
pretenție
not decided yet.
personală mea, dar
It is not one of
Conceptul
my ideas or
radical
pretension, but
necesită de
the radical
modificat,
concept
aprecierea
needs to be
o dejustează.
modified because the appreciation is
Esența,
given by the
finalitatea
justice
justiției
seeker,
este dreptatea.
and the main
ce
element
noi
in
nu
this
putem
process
astăzi să
is the
mergem
equity, the fairness.
alte
This
căi,
is
fiindcă
why we cannot follow other
termenii se epuizează, apare
paths because
o
time
încredere,
is
o neîncredere
running,
din partea
and we
populației
keep
în justiție,
having
în
this low trust from
organele
the
de
population
administrare și
in the
asta și mă duc în
administration, governing
Mai mult
bodies,
cu atât că
and that's what
făcând
made me to apply for this.
investigații în
Moreover,
domeniul
the fact that I conducted
disciplinare.
some
Deci,
investigation in the field of criminal liability, the expert established that during 5
a
years
fost,
period,
sesizat colegiul disciplinar,
the disciplinary board was
7500 de plângeri.
informed or received
Admise au fost 250,
7,500 complaints,
49 de judecători.
and sanctions were
intenția
49
doamnei
judges.
președinte
So
de
the
a
intention of Madam the
autocurățirea sistemului
chair to self-clean the system could not run by itself. We needed to take these measures,
organele abilitate în domeniu. Mai mult ca atât
to
că
have these measures taken by the competent authorities. And moreover, experiences in other countries did not investigate or identify this moment when almost 90
au făcut o cerere de a
judges
convoca
submitted a
extraordinară.
request to convene the extraordinary assembly of judges.
Dacă
And in that case,
Consiliul Superior
we have an
al
issue or a
Magistraturii
question whether the
a fost
SCM
nefuncțional și au reacționat
did it function
90
well
90 de judecători cu
or not, and 90 judges took action. This means that we need actions in terms of changing concepts or legal aspects, because the laws is
de ce așa a fost
outdated conceptually and functionally.
materializată intenția mea
And my intention was
de pune
materialized
actele la concursul
by
respectiv.
submitting
În ultimul moment,
documents
dar
for
eu
this
cunosc
competition in the
foarte
last
multe
moment.
respectiv.
Maybe I am not in line with the integrity criteria, but the values that need to be promoted cannot be changed. And moreover, we have some fundamental principles that nobody raised the question about how the impartiality is evolving in relation to the judges. And that's the main issue, because we pretend to be independent, but impartiality is ground that manages the independence. And the first legal concept created in France in 1990s was due to this fact that the population lost their trust in the judiciary. And if we now compare Moldova to other countries where investments were made, for example, in France, 4 billion, 6 million in 2007. Yes, we don't have these possibilities to invest such money in the judiciary, but the reform of the judiciary is much more complex, because the burden that now lies on the current public administration was not created during 20 or 30 years. In order to change the situation in the judiciary, this could not be done in 1, 2, or 3 years. And moreover, the accents have changed. The previous governing system has developed the system, because we pretended to have fair justice, but the judges that had the derisory salary had too high burden, and they had just to adjust to the situation when they had cases with millions to be dealt with, and the judges had 2,000 or 3,000 lei at the beginning as salary, had no working conditions. And moreover, when there is a high level of legislative inflation, which the judge cannot deal with, if we look at the civil administrative code, the discrepancies which are there, the inconsistencies, because or maybe cases that might be solved in the first instance, because they still have private lives, and they need to be able to live. I came in front of you to show that I've resisted with this modest salary. I did not engage in illegal actions. I had
promotor
a status
a unor
of
reforme,
promoter of some reforms, even though I had some expenses, those were justified
a scopului și toate
in terms of
dificultățile
the
care au avut,
purpose and
la
all
moment
the
am
difficulties
8
I
proiecte
had.
care nu le pot găsi
So
finanțare.
currently I
Care
have 8 projects
unul
I
dintre
cannot
proiecte
find
e
funding
comentariul la
for,
legea 178.
and one of the project is
Răspunderea
the
disciplinară
comment to
disciplinară,
the law
care e problema cheie
168 responsibility for the
stabili
judges in
echilibru
order
între
to
garanții
establish
și drepturile
the
fundamentale
balance between
ale cetățenilor.
guarantees
Deci,
and fundamental rights of the citizens.
intuitiv, dumneavoastră ascultați
So,
intuiție, dacă
You should listen
eu
basically
sunt
to your
neintegru,
intuition.
atunci
If I'm not showing integrity, then in that case I will not challenge your decision. I've been honest, I have nothing to hide.
există o doză de
If there
încredere,
is some trust, then I will be able to put this in place. If it's needed, I could show you my intention,
înaintate și la
showing
Consiliul Superior
documents,
Magistratură
my
și în Parlament.
intentions submitted to the
interveni
SCM
pe
and to the
fiindcă
Parliament
nu la nivel
in order to bring my
instituțional noi
contribution,
putem
because
schimba.
it's not at the level of the institutions we may change something in terms of the judiciary, because this is very serious. It's a contemplation between the professional culture of the judge and the social culture, because you understand that an unprepared judge in court is the judge might make an observation once or twice,
în proces și atunci
but the person does not know about the behavior and the process in the trial, and they cannot understand if the judge is respecting the rules. But otherwise, there might be some situation that could not be solved in some specific situation.
Vă mulțumesc, țin să le
So,
mulțumesc
thank you very
celor
much.
care m-au
Thank you
instigat
to all
la
those
acest exercițiu.
who accepted me in this exercise, who encouraged me to participate in this exercise. I apologize to my family for the impossibility
Trai mai decent,
to give them a more decent
dar
living.
astăzi, eu ce am investit, am investit
But
în
what I have invested so far, I've invested in science, and science in the Republic of Moldova. But this is not a sector that gives you money.
3 instituții și atunci.
I've worked in 3 institutions,
Ca avocat, nu m-am
and
afirmat.
I did not show myself entirely as a lawyer.
Da, am practicat, dar
Yes, I practiced,
nu
but
pentru a-mi face avere.
not
și
in order to get
am încercat să
wealth.
creez ceva.
I tried to create something, so I created a magazine
De drept privat care a fost
of
apreciat în
private
România,
law, which was appreciated in Romania.
aportul
I've tried to
efectiv
bring some benefits, real benefits.
rămâne pe seama.
But this now remains on those who have to give an appreciation. Thank you, and sorry if I said something strange or inappropriate, and I wish you good luck in the process of appreciation and evaluation.
Accentul însăși
But you should focus basically on the situation, because even the Venice Commission in point 46, in their recommendations
14 martie
from the 14th of March,
face o mențiune ca
they mentioned that the authorities need to be very careful to the cap or to the threshold of donations and inexplicable wealth.
pot să vă spun.
I've lived in the 90s, and I can tell you that while working
Banca comercială
at
Petrol
the Petrol Bank, Commercial Bank, there was a case, Jordan Pavel against Petrol Bank, where the rate of refunding,
dobânzii la
the rate of the interest rate to the bank deposit was 300 per year.
elaborarea codului
So you understand that I took part in the development of the labor code,
inițial a fost pus
and 330 indicated initially 10% for the delays in payment. So take into consideration this element, because if you look at the caps and in the areas of doubts, you've invoked this inexplicable wealth, this should be confirmed. You say that it is less 61,000, but I never had
normele stabilite de
or reached to the norms established by the Bureau of Statistics.
ar trebui să țineți cont.
So you should look into the financial difficulties, because in the 90s it was very difficult. Till 2000, till the financial situation recovered a little bit, because salaries were paid in kind before that.
Ascultați-vă intuiția.
So listen to your inner voice, your intuition.
Well, Mr. Russo, we've come to the end of today's hearing. Thank you for your responses to the Commission's questions today. After the hearing, the Commission will approve an evaluation report stating its conclusion whether the subject meets the criteria for ethical and financial integrity under Law Number 26. The Commission will strive to complete its report and announce its conclusion as soon as possible. It generally seeks to do so within a month after the public hearing. So the hearing is now closed. Good afternoon to everyone.